I'm Ujo from Nigeria. I am presenting this morning on the uses of remittances as an innovative source of finance, of development finance. I'm looking at the altruism and self-interest theory. Just like we have had recently, remittances is not really a very common topic, but I have a lot of information that I would together look at today. The outline of this presentation is going to cut across the following. We're going to have the background, the basics, and I will raise some conclusion. Under the background, I'm going to talk about the keywords that relates to my presentation. I'm also going to look at some theories. We'll look at the sources of remittances and the uses of remittance. And under the basics, I will be looking at facts and figures about Nigeria and the statistics on remittances globally, West Africa, and for Nigeria in context. And I'll also look at impacts of remittances and we'll make some empirical analysis. Conclusion of this paper will look at why, what, and how remittances can impact household expenditure, food security, and national growth. Now, development finance. According to the Council of Development Finance Agencies, development finance is a deliberate effort at sourcing and utilizing funds to support, encourage, and catalyze expansion or growth. On the other hand, development finance is like an investment in public and private physical infrastructure and industrial projects, which has a long-term benefit to the host communities. And what about innovative sources of development finance? There are various sources of development finance of which we are all familiar to, the ODA, the bilateral funding, multilateral, FDI, and many others. But innovative sources of development finance includes other sources like carbon taxes, Tobin taxes, special drawing rights, Islamic finance, and private donation. The purpose of this paper is actually focused on remittances, which is one of the other innovative sources. So I will put more emphasis on remittances. And what is remittances? Remittances can be defined as the money that emigrant sent back home. It is a simple layman definition according to the Brainly website. World Bank and Young also define or look contextually into remittances as the largest source of external finance in developing countries. World Bank in 2017 posits a descriptive analysis of remittances by defining it as 200 million sending money home to help 700 million plus family to meet ends needs. So this is a pictorial definition of remittances according to the World Bank in 2017. Theories that relate to remittances. There are two theories that my presentation has adopted for the purpose of today. One is talking about the push and pull factor according to the neoclassical economic theory, and the other is talking about the self-interest and altruism theory. The push and pull factor is to look at why people leave their country to other countries, while the self-interest and altruism theory looks at why people remit money to their country. So the push and pull factor explains that the economic situation of their country, poverty level, unemployment are reasons why people leave their country to foreign countries. While the pull factor explains that the situation of the foreign countries like job opportunity, high living standard are the reasons why people leave their country. So you could leave because of being pushed or leave your country because you are being pulled. We'll look at it in the further slides of this presentation. And the other theory that I'm adopting is the self-interest and the altruism theory. These are remittance motivators. Self-interest explains that some people send money home because of their personal interest. They want to send money home to invest in businesses, to build houses, and to have their savings. While altruism theory is saying that it's a selfless effort. You are sending money home to your family, friends, and relatives to perhaps finance their schools, educations, and some other reasons. We'll also look at it in details. Like I said, self-interest, altruism is the theory that believes that migrants remit money home to their home country with the interest to help others. While the self-interest is that the theory explains that remittances are motivated by the self-interest of the sender to build a house, invest in businesses, and many others. This is being posited by Froelich in 1974. And by the objective of this paper is to actually look at the uses of remittances. But this flow of remittances will interest us because it's been propounded by Bartner in 2016. And this is the area that comes to my interest. The Bartner says in when remittance and immigrants leave their country to their place of work, they make money. They do different work. These are the types of what job they do. Some are businessmen, some are service class, and some are workers. The businessmen earn an average of $5,000 to $10,000 per month, and they send money home 4 to 5 times every year. While the service class earn $1,200 to $4,000 per month, and they send money home 6 to 7 times every year. So the most interesting aspect is the workers. They earn less, earning $250 to $900 per month, and they send money home 12 to 14 times every year. This interests me, and I felt is an area for further studies. So I will be skipping this because that is not the purpose of today's presentation. Further, looking at the ranking of the uses of remittances, IFAD, that is the International Fund for Agricultural Development, also came up with a study looking at the circular migration of remittances. They were also describing how people leave their home country, starting from getting money to travel out of the country. Some borrow the money, some get it from their personal savings. They get to the country where they work. When they make the money, the first thing they would do, according to IFAD, is to first settle the bills of their traveling. So they may not be able to do any other thing. But if you don't have any bills to settle, then these are the ranking of their expenditures. The first in the category, according to IFAD, is that the uses of remittances is first going to current expenditures. Then next is the working capital and investment into small businesses. The third is housing, and the fourth is long-term savings, while insurance is the final, according to IFAD. This categorization of IFAD was actually came up with further arguments, because some people felt, what are the expenses that we can put under current expenditure, and what are these other expenses? So GIG in 2010 now conducted a statistical study on 188 immigrants, and they were trying to look at the reasons and the purpose for the money they are sending home. This is the outcome of the study. 78% of the respondents, or the responses, because it was actually 188 respondents, and if you look at this summation, it's more than 188, so it implies that some could pick 2. So these are responses, not respondents. So 78% of the responses says the money they've been sent home is for people to buy food, while the other says is to pay hospital bill, and the next on the ranking is investing in farming. So what I did in this paper is to now compare GIG and the IFAD report by looking at the ones that falls under the current expenditure. And as we can see, food, the ones in green tick are the current expenditure. If you look at it, they constitute the highest portion of these uses. And the ones in red tick are for working and investment capital for small businesses. They are the next in ranking. And the third is housing investment. So this now makes me conclude that GIG and IFAD has almost the same outcome. Now to Nigeria as a context. As we all know, Nigeria is located in the western part of Africa and is being bounded by Cameroon to the east, Niger to the north, Benin Republic to the west, and Equatorial Guinea to the south. And these are the demographic of Nigeria. The land size of Nigeria is 923,763 kilometers square. The people of Nigeria is 195.6 million, and 88% of them are out already as in diaspora, working to make money. 25 billion is being budgeted in 2018, 2030 GDP per capita estimate in 2018. These 8% have remitted 25 million in 2018, and it is so sad that with all of these efforts, over half of the population are still poor. I went further to look at statistical data to describe remittances globally, and this was the outcome. The outcome of my analysis, according to the source from World Bank, says India has the highest remittance. So what I did here is to do a kind of a 5 years comparative analysis. So these are the flows of remittances to the top 10 countries over the period of 5 years. Though they all have fluctuations depending on their economic situations, which I did not dig further into, so I may not be able to explain for each country. But what interests us is 2 African countries features among the top 10 remittance destination, and Nigeria happens to be one of it, and Egypt being the 6th in the position. Now, being Nigeria featuring among the top 10, that makes me to look at what other West African countries are among in the how does it happens in West African countries. And this is the outcome I got. From the 19th West African country, Nigeria was the top on the list, followed by Ghana. But what interests me most is the distance between the first position and the other West African country is seemingly too low. So this also calls for further studies to look at the reason why the other West African countries are not really exploring remittances. And now to Nigeria, this is the trend which I would explain further in the next slide. Now, this is where the outcome of my presentation really comes. This is a comparative analysis also of remittances, foreign exchange reserve of Nigeria, and exchange rate. The reason why I'm putting in exchange rate is because the purchasing power parity theory says that people send money back to their country in some cases because they felt if $1 in, like for instance, let's look at this chart. In 2015, $1 is equal to 200 naira in Nigeria. That is when the present administration took over. It implies that under the purchasing power parity, which talks about the basket of goods, it says if somebody is earning $1 in the US and is sending it home in 2015, the person will buy 200 apples. But immediately the new administration came on board, remittances, exchange rate increased from 200 naira per dollar to 300 naira per dollar. The implication is the same $1 that person will be sending home in 2015 will buy 300 apples instead of 200. But the interesting part is the remittances reduces. So this shows that exchange rate is not the determinant of remittances only. The economic situation of the country could also determine that. And from my analysis, 2016 was when Nigeria experienced some financial crisis. The economy was not stable because of change of power, and a lot of people are afraid of sending money to Nigeria because at that time, many accounts were being freezed. The government is looking into several accounts and they were doing corruption. So a lot of people perhaps may feel like, let me keep my money elsewhere rather than putting it in Nigeria. But after then, in 2017, other things happened. The currency stabilized over 5 years and remittance started to grow again. So it's obvious that it's not exchange rate that really determine remittances. And the second findings I had is the exchange rate is not a determinant of remittance, like I said. The last is since 2016, 17, and 18, the exchange rate has been stabilized, like I said, and remittances still keeps coming in. I also did an analysis on remittances, household expenditure, foreign direct investment, and the share of remittance in Nigerian GDP. And the outcome I have is that remittances and household expenditure has an inverse trend since 2016. This is what I'm trying to say. The black line here is the household expenditure. So I look at the data from the World Bank. There is a general data on household expenditure in Nigeria, which is falling since 2016. It has been falling since 2013, but I had a special interest in 2016 because this is when the financial crisis in Nigeria occurred. So this has been falling since 2016, but it has remittances kept increasing. So what this implies is that there is an inverse relationship between these two, and it means the people sending home money may not be sending it for household expenditures, perhaps for their own self-interest. And that also posits the theory of self-interest that maybe most of those monies are to buy houses, invest in other businesses, and not for household expenditure. I looked at some summary of some empirical review to back my findings, and these are what I was able to get. I looked the migrator motivator, which says why are people moving out. Kazim says in Nigeria, middle class people are being pushed out, not pulled. That many people that left Nigeria is not because they see better opportunities outside, but they are tired of the economic situation, according to Kazim 2019. And the remittance motivator, Anyanro in 2018 adopted the investment promotion framework, and it concludes that Nigerians in diaspora are being motivated more by altruism than self-interest. And this is actually against my own findings, because my finding says it is more of self-interest. So I want to look at, maybe there will be need for further studies to look at the causality. Perhaps maybe the statistical description that I had may not be sufficient to explain the relationship. And the remittances inhibitors, according to findings, is that there is weak financial system in Nigeria, which may make people not to remit. The political system is unstable, and these are positive outcomes of remittances and the negative outcomes according to various studies. And this will also interest us that the negative impact of remittances is no achievement of remittance in Nigeria can be traced, because most of the money that is being remitted into Nigeria, there is no account for them. We can't really say this is what is being meant for, unlike China and India. In India, they have a structured, organized system where they were able to monitor their remittances. So for us to now have a traceability of remittances in Nigeria, I went further to look at what the government of Nigeria is doing presently, and these are the developments in Nigeria. In 2015, the Nigerian government, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, set up a committee to look at the challenges of why people are not remitting money. And in 2016, the committee came up with the National Policy on Diaspora Matter. In 2017, the draft policy recommended the establishment of the Nigerian in Diaspora Commission, which was established in June 2017. The commission went further to organize our first summit, which is the first Nigerian Diaspora Investment Summit in November 2018. Between 2018 and 2019, the commission also came up with the Nigerian Diaspora Day, which is celebrated every 25th July with specific themes. And in 2019, the second edition was organized just last month, November 2019. And in 2020, this paper is actually positing or recommending that all of the efforts in the past may not have been significant if there is no structure to manage the remittances. So the Nigerian Diaspora Remittance Trust Fund should be looked at as part of the things that they should discuss in 2019, so that we can have something like a diaspora bond like we have in India. And let me quickly run you through the diaspora bond in India. Look at what India has achieved with their diaspora bond. India leveraged on its large diaspora. Actually, the World Bank had over 198 pages of report on remittance markets in India, and the report was submitted in 2012. He said India leveraged on its large diaspora by issuing diaspora bond, and we all remember India is the top on the list of the top 10. The second is the diaspora bond of India domiciles with the State Bank of India. The bonds were subscribed to by non-resident Indians, and the bond has a very attractive interest rate, higher than any other similar current instrument in their country where they work. So this will motivate people to send money. Instead of keeping their money in the foreign banks, they will perhaps send it to the SBI. And the diaspora bond recorded a significant success in India. These are in 4 different cases. The World Bank report actually reported 3 cases, but that was because the report was conducted in 2012. But another report added that in 2013, that is on the website of, do you have my source there? Okay, I think I forgot to put the source there. So on the website, they reported the 3rd case, with the 4th case, which is the 2013. In 1991, India has balance of trade issue, and they were able to issue 1.6 billion diaspora bond, that's India development bond, to save the economy. In 1998, India was sanctioned for the nuclear expansion and by the US, and they also raised 4.2 billion to save their economy. And in 2000, the same thing, they raised the India Millennium Deposit, which has an 8% because of the financial instability in the rupee. Now, my critical thinking about all of this is that the success of the above may not be significant if we don't have this function. So I said critically, the success of any of these model will only be successful if there is high level of public confidence in the financial system, and there is low level of corruption in public sector, and also the political economy is stable. So while looking at this, I stumbled on a report recently that Nigeria issued $300 million bond in 2017. And that bond was deposited in commercial banks. And for today, I am still looking at the uses of those bonds. So if all of these are not in place, people will not be interested to remit. And now brings me to my conclusion. This paper concludes that people leave their home country because of the push and pull factor in either case. Remittances seems to be the largest source of external finance in developing countries. Remittances originate majorly from migrants of the home country, and remittances are mostly purposed for food, housing, and investment. And what are the issues that I observed? Flow of remittances to Nigeria is the largest in West Africa. Most remittances to Nigeria is assumed to be motivated by self-interest theory, by my own analysis, because of the impact that I see in household expenditure. Remittances can positively influence the economy, and it can negatively also influence the economy, affect the economy. And under the negativity, we have demand pull inflation, because when too much remittances is coming on board, it could lead to inflation where too much money is running after few goods. And it also reduces local productivity, while some people say it can even lead to brain drain. Then, and finally, they said there is no structural official record for utilization of remittances in Nigeria. And what are the way forward? One, we need to increase traceability and ensure efficiency of remittances utilization in Nigeria, and would recommend if the government of Nigeria can look at establishing something like a remit fund to similar with what diaspora fund of India is doing, because India has a separate bank managing those funds rather than depositing it with the commercial bank. And remittance could also be used as an instrument to achieve financial inclusion and food security. And finally, this study further recommends to governments of developing countries to adopt technology to attract or influence remittances to ensure socio-economic growth and development. So thank you for your time.